many coaches believe, well, I taught this athlete everything they know, and in honesty, I've learned more from the athletes that I've coached than I believe they've learned from me. And I think when you start stacking years of experience up, you become a better guesser.
สำหรับท่านไหนนะครับที่กำลังมองหาอุปกรณ์การฝึกไม่ว่าจะเป็นในบ้านหรือในยิมที่ตอบโจทย์การฝึกอย่างครบครันรวมไปถึงนะครับอุปกรณ์การฝึกระดับโลกและก็ไม่ว่าจะเป็นรองเท้านาฬิกาเสื้อผ้าแกดเจ็ตต่างๆเกี่ยวกับการวิ่งหรือแม้กระทั่งคนที่อยากหาค่าความฟิตต่อตัวเองการเทส VO2max Test พบกันได้ครับที่ MLife Shop Central World หรือช่องทางการติดต่อตามนี้เลยครับ
สวัสดีครับทุกคนยินดีต้อนรับเข้าสู่ M Talk Special นะครับเอพิโซดนี้ผมตื่นเต้นมากจริงๆนะครับอยากให้ทุกคนมาฟังกันนะครับแต่ว่าพิเศษนิดนึงว่าวันนี้ผมขออนุญาตสัมภาษณ์ M Talk เป็นภาษาอังกฤษนะครับผมเพราะว่าเรามีแขกพิเศษมากๆนะครับเขาเคยเป็นอดีตหัวหน้านะครับและผู้อำนวยการศูนย์ฝึกโอลิมปิกแห่งชาติของประเทศอเมริกานะครับและก็ยังเป็นนักกีฬาอยู่ในระดับสูงของอเมริกานะครับในการพุ่งแล่นด้วยนะครับแล้วก็ยังเป็นโค้ชของนักกีฬาที่ทำลายสถิติโลกในโอลิมปิกแล้วนะครับผมวันนี้เดี๋ยวเราไปฟังกันครับว่าเรามีแขกรับเชิญเป็นใครครับผม Hi everybody, we have a really interesting episode for you here. I am with one of my mentors.A great Olympic coach, director of many athletes program, and now the president of Keiser Corporation. Also an ex-athlete himself, ranked in the national so many times. Please welcome Mr. Ty Sevin to the show.
Thank you.
Sawadee krap.
Thank you.
Man, you know the Thai greetings.
I do. I'm learning
quick.Welcome to Thailand. How do you feel today?
No, we feel outstanding. I mean, I just had the opportunity to speak to some sports scientists here, and Thailand's the second time I've had the opportunity to lecture to them and to kind of give them into some insights of what I believe is important and to try to spread the word around the world of that there are no secrets out there, and we just need to be better at educating each other, trying to learn from each other so that we can move this world of human performance forward.Really
interesting you said there's no secret out there.
There is no secret.
How about we do a really short history because I know you have a massive track record in terms of strength conditioning and athletes coaching. You want to just briefly let everybody know what you've done in the past in terms of strength conditioning and athlete?
Yeah, I think I come from a little bit different background when it comes to education, when it comes to coaching, because my background's in economics. I really didn't have any plans to be a coach. It's something that kind of came to me. Really, I spent the majority of my time focused on my athletic career. I was a javelin thrower.Was very fortunate to be mentored by very good people. I learned a lot along the way. I think it developed me into the coach I am today, and I mean, I was blessed. I was able to compete in 4 Olympic trials as an athlete, and at the end of my career, I just really transitioned into coaching. And what I did was I took a little bit of everything from all the coaches I had in the past.And I tried just to find my own system of what worked, and I really enjoy the process of identifying talent, knowing what the demands of their event is, and then coming up with a systematic approach of implementing tools, strategies, and methods built on a solid foundation of concepts to let them reach their genetic potential.
So,It seems like you started out as an athlete, right? And then try to figure out a lot of stuff out about your own strength and conditioning profile.
Absolutely.
Right? And how did javelin come into your life? Was that something, because I know from a lot of coaches that I talk to, you're either born javelin thrower or you just isn't.
Mine was just really by chance. I mean, I went to university in America to play American football.And I had some background in pole vaulting. I threw the javelin a little bit. It is contested in high school sports in America. And I really was playing American football at university, Louisiana State University, and I was trying to compete in the javelin and decathlon. But it soon came really obvious that decathlon wasn't going to work out. But I really had a propensity to throw the javelin. I think the way that my body is made up, it kind of suits that event well. So it really was American football kind of faded out the background, decathlon faded, and I found myself training to try to be an Olympic javelin thrower.
Wow. And your last competition was when you were 30-something years old, right?
My last competition was in 2007. I had a friendly bet with one of my athletes that was post-collegiate and one of my university athletes, and actually qualified for my fourth Olympic trials with about 8 weeks of training.
Wow. Right. Do you feel like as a track and field athlete, right? This is way back when you were competing. Do you think age has a big difference in terms of strength and performance?
Well, age is really a double-edged sword when it comes to events that have a high technical demand. So I felt like my understanding of the technique as my career went on, and I got to travel the world and work with some really good coaches internationally. I was blessed to have, I believe, the best javelin coach in America at the university level, and he continued to coach me. But really, the age takes its toll on the damage to your body from training. The javelin is a very demanding sport on your body. And then in addition to that, I wasn't very genetically blessed. My nervous system wasn't operating at a high level, and I had to really train hard, lots of volume. And what ends up happening is that your body just starts to take a beating, take a beating. The strength stays good for a long time, but the velocity and the ability to move fast is something that goes really quick.
I want to ask you a question into nature versus nurture in a little bit, you know, whether genetics and training, how much interplay do you see between them? But, you know, in terms of coaching, you've started out as an athlete, been very successful, and ranked national for many years, right? Throughout your 20s and into the 30s. How was the transition into coaching and being a coach? Was that something natural, or you actually had to dig deep into your previous experience and your time with your mentors to form a system for yourself?
Yeah, my system was developed well before I got into coaching. In America, we're not funded by the federal government. The Olympic Committee doesn't fund us, so it's kind of all on your own. So I had the opportunity to coach in the university system starting when I was 26 years old. So I had started to develop this methodology that I use, and it's evolved. I mean, the more I learned, the more I learned from athletes. I think many coaches believe, well, I taught this athlete everything they know, and in honesty, I've learned more from the athletes that I've coached than I believe they've learned from me. And I think when you start stacking years of experience up, you become a better guesser. You're using your solid foundations as the starting point, and then you have the opportunity to work with so many people that you become a better guesser, and you implement strategies and tactics to try to get them to the next level. But the transition for me was absolutely seamless. I walked away from sport not bitter. And that's not very common. Most people leave the sport a little bitter, but I knew that from a genetic perspective, I feel like I worked as hard as I could. I was very smart in my training. I tried to use science, and I tried to use the passion that I have for the sport. But when I walked away from sport, I was very happy of what I had accomplished. And my number one priority was to take the things that I learned to help other people achieve their goals.
That's beautiful. It's just, and there's a saying, you know, not every ex-athlete turns out to be great coaches.
Right.
You know, and the same thing, I've heard so many coaches in my talks and encounters with them, they just says, you know, a great athlete teaches you to be a better coach.
Absolutely.
Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes great athletes, things are very easy for them. I could say that outside of the ability to get very strong, everything I did in sport was challenging. So I think when you try to decipher the code of yourself, it opens up your mind to being able to do it sometimes a little bit different than other people did. So it's an evolution, but I believe that it's just a learning process.
Great. So with that, right, you became a coach. What's the progress? Like, what does it take to be a director for track and fields for the Olympic Committee of America?
Well, I mean, I was very blessed to get the opportunity to run the Olympic Training Center for the resident program for track and field, and obviously being able to create strategic plans not only for your program because you are competing almost like a team, but identifying the talent and being able to get along with many different personalities. So it's not so much the ability of the X's and O's. I think it's being able to take an athlete for what they have and not throw your methodology on them and it's got to be my way or the highway. I think it's more of a leadership role where you have to really be a sounding board for them because you've got athletes, the majority of athletes I coach, some were older than I was. So it's really about leadership, team building, having a solid foundation of the venture coaching. Unfortunately, at some point, to be a really good administrator, because there is a lot of administration that goes along with that.
I would never have thought of it because here in Southeast Asia, you know, when we look at America in terms of track and field training and their Olympic track records, we always have, you know, some kind of thought, you know, embedded into our mind that, oh, the US have this super high-tech training facility with like a super secret training regimen. Nobody's allowed to see it, and they have like super athletes and super coach. But talking to you, it seems like a very simple, normal, everyday thing. But you just you're grounded and you work on few principles, and the principle that works in training. And then that leads on to, you know, building a good foundation for the athletes.
Yeah, I mean, I think America, I've traveled all around the world, had coaches. We're probably a little behind when it comes to the sciences.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I feel like we were good, don't get me wrong, but you know, you can take all of that and it is important. But the ultimate thing is that an athlete needs to be passionate about what they're doing. They need somebody to guide them on their path to make sure that they can be successful. But the better an athlete gets, the simpler it should become.
And so you are saying that, you know, in comparing to all other nations in the world, the US is actually somewhat behind on the science.
I think we're a little bit behind on the science.
So
for
what
sure.
did the US do right to get the most medal count at the Olympics every time?
We have the best development program in the world called the collegiate system. So there's over 350 Division I institutions that have the best facilities in the world. I mean, the university systems will rival any Olympic training system anywhere around the world. So the vast majority of the elite coaches in track and field are associated with university. So you have the opportunity to recruit these athletes to come into your program, and that is the breeding ground.
So it's almost like a filtration process that's got done really, really well and perfected.
100%. I mean, the collegiate system, in my opinion, it's only my opinion, is if you look at the Olympic sports traditionally that America does well in, it's the sports that are contested in the university system.